Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
It's episode 21 of Just a Couple Thoughts. So, it's been a minute, as always. Anything you want to tell the audience before we just get into it? We don't have that much recap. It's just saying cool video on our last video.
Cool video.
Yes.
Very cool.
If you guys haven't seen it, our last episode involved special guest Ifu, who's also Sarah's younger sister. So check it out if you're interested in Vocaloid and the other thing we talked about, which was just state of podcast and stuff. The podcast about other podcasts. But that's not what we're talking about today. But before we actually get into our actual topic, anything you want to say, Sarah?
I've just been thinking, right? Because this will be like one of the first podcasts that we do under quarantine life.
Quote unquote for me, yes.
Why?
Well, I'm still technically going to work.
Oh.
Just in a limited amount. Because I'm considered an essential worker, technically, for my company. I don't want to get into it, but my company deals with a lot of shipping, and we have a lot of customers that kind of rely on us, so we're quote unquote essential. So, but yeah, this is our first episode on the quarantine life and in COVID-19. So
You can't say that, otherwise we got demonetized. Not like we're monetizing anything.
no, we're not. I honestly do not care.
Well, because we've been doing quarantine stuff, at least I have. I've just been going to school, doing my Zoom meetings, and doing Ring Fit Adventure. I'm on day 25 of Ring Fit Adventure.
Fun.
Level 96.
Apparently, Refit Adventures are getting a resurgence lately. Where
You what?
getting a resurgence.
Oh, resurgence. Oh, okay. I had no idea what you just said.
It's getting a resurgence lately because people are, I guess, working more indoors. So apparently it's being sold out in a lot of places now.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good. I mean, it's kind of a fun game. It's fun enough.
I mean, we had it for a while, you know. I played with it for like a solid month because I wanted to try speedrun the game, but it's a hard game to constantly play when you don't want to actually exercise, when that's not the goal. You know, my goal was to beat the game, not to like actually exercise.
But you didn't beat the game.
No, I didn't because it gets monotonous. Because what I was trying to do was beat the game on like the easiest level and find the fastest way to do it.
Yeah.
But it gets so boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even short worlds take like at least 20 to 30 minutes.
Anyway,
Yeah. Anything else?
that's about it. Kevin's been getting into modding, as we both have, let's say, toy modding.
Yeah, I've been getting into Nerf modding, and you've been getting into retro modding.
Yeah. So what that means is, on my part, like, what does retro modding mean? I mean, that could mean a lot of things, right? But I'm more focusing on like old Nintendo products. So basically, like Game Boy Colors, the original Game Boys, Game Boy Advance, so stuff like that. Replacing parts, adding in new parts. It's not refurbishing.
It's more like making a new product.
Yeah, it's more like upgrading an older Nintendo product. So that's like putting in a new LCD screen and putting in a new shell, new buttons, if you want, which I'm going to do, and perhaps spray painting.
Does retro modding have OLED screens yet?
No.
No. Oh.
No.
Do you think we're going to get there eventually?
Maybe, but not right now.
Yeah.
Somebody has to make it. So they're all made by indie companies, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there needs to be a demand for it, and there's no real demand.
Yeah. It's similar for Nerf, except I guess we're a slightly bigger company because apparently like lots of college students love Nerf modding, right? Because it's not really that hard to do. It takes like a little electrical experience for certain Nerf guns. So like from my side, right? Nerf modding usually involves either replacing springs for like the spring guns or replacing motors for the motorized flywheel guns. That's like the hard and fast way of doing it. You can also do things like replacing parts with metal so they actually last longer and stuff like that. it's apparently pretty popular in college amongst college students and lots of people in their 20s and stuff like that. And kids who are like ahead of the curve in the tech world. For those who are somewhat interested in nerf modding, there is a pretty solid community behind it. It's really easy to get into, I found. And
It's similar to modding old Game Boys and stuff. There's a lot of information out there, so it's very easy to do it yourself. I was watching YouTubers like the Retro Future, do his thing, and then I was kind of like, that's kind of cool, and it's so easy, like no joke. It is so easy to just put in a new screen. Simple.
Yeah.
Depends on what mod you buy. Also, it is inexpensive. Like all kind of modding, it ends up getting more expensive than you realize, right? Because it's like, okay, well, I just want to replace the screen. But if I'm going to replace the screen, I might as well replace the protective screen on the outside.
You might as well do that. You might as well replace the shell.
Yeah,
you might as well do that. You might as well replace the buttons. And
yeah. If I'm going to do that, I might as well just get a rechargeable battery. Yeah. It's only going to cost me like, what, $20 more. And then like...
You're going to do that, you might as well get a flash card.
Yeah. And if I'm going to do that, like...
So it gets expensive. Like, it's the same thing with Nerf modding too, where like real basic modding is cheap. But you do real basic modding, like what's the point? You can, for like springs, like, oh, you can upgrade the springs, but that doesn't make it that much stronger. So you can upgrade the plunger tube. But if you want to upgrade the plunger tube, then you must get an all metal one.
See, I think that's the difference between like modding, like Nerf modding, and then like modding for like a Game Boy or something. Is that for Nerf modding, it seems to like, I don't care how far away I stray from the original product, because it ends up being its own kind of piece anyway.
At the end, usually it becomes its own thing. The only thing is like the opposite of retro modding, actually, where the only thing that's still the Nerf gun is the shell. Like the entire interior, by the end of it, if you really go into it, it's just different.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in retro modding, the only thing that's the same is the motherboard.
Yeah, the board is the only thing that really stays the same for the most part. Like you can change like
and you could piecemeal mods, yeah.
Like for example, my Game Boy Color has a faulty power switch, so it's all corroded inside. The little like metal tabs, the little contact points on the inside, they've all been like corroded, right? So I figured that was the problem initially. Like it was just dirty, and I figured that was the problem. And then Kevin opened it up for me because I can't solder.
It's not hard though.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it before, but I don't want to do it with the one that we have, right?
I have a little bit more experience than her, yes.
So we opened it up, and it turns out that it's like totally corroded. There's only one pin that actually kind of works.
Which is actually good in a way, because when I opened it up and I saw that it was corroded, the copper contact points, it has 2 pins on it, right? But it only requires one of them to work. So it was kind of, in a way, Nintendo kind of future-proofed themselves, because like if it only relied on one pin, you're just fucked. Right? But it has a backup pin for you, so because it only needs one of the contact points.
It still doesn't work quite right though. So like this was kind of different before I changed the shell, but before I changed the shell, it wasn't very consistent. So I would try to turn it on, flick the switch on, and you had to get it just between 2 certain points, or else it wouldn't stay on. Right? So it would like stay on and then would like turn off, and I'm like, okay. But I think it's just because the switch itself in the case was probably not. I don't know. It was
the case
old.
itself was probably loose.
Yeah.
I think when you have an aftermarket case, everything's a little bit more tighter.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of pushed everything tighter together, which
Yeah.
let the switch actually have a bit of contact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now it turns like, because I was like, oh, I'm going to have to buy another board, and I really don't want to do that because...
You can't buy the copper switch by itself unless you get it custom made,
Yeah.
which is possible, but
Yeah, unless I do some
it's such
finagling.
a small part.
Yeah, unless I do like finagling and I tear other pieces from other boards and stuff like an NDS switch and then try to Frankenstein it onto my board. But like I don't know, it kind of works a lot better now, so I'm kind of like I don't care.
Yeah, you don't need it anymore.
And it's only for me, so it's like I'm not making it for somebody else.
Yeah, you're not trying to sell it.
Yeah. On the other hand, my Game Boy Advance works great.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with it. You know, knock on wood, right?
It just didn't come with the buttons.
Yeah, it just didn't come with any of the parts. Well, some of the parts that I asked for did not come with it, so that's cool. Not like I wanted it or anything. Not like I asked for it. So I'm going to do the same treatment, kind of, with the Game Boy Color. I don't know. Every time I talk about this stuff, right, I can see people's faces just like...
lose excitement.
Yeah, just like all of their excitement just kind of drains and they start doing other things and they fiddle with other stuff.
It's like whenever I talk to you about some of my stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now that we're in somewhat quarantine, right? Because like even though I said I'm an essential worker, I only go in for like half a shift now because that's how they're dealing with it. Only letting half the company work at a time. I have more time to myself. So I've been getting, I guess, more hobbies. So it's not just my Nerf gun. I also got a 3D printer, which supplements my Nerf gun and also other projects I wanted to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The 3D printer. The 3D printer. It's cool. It's cool. It's just initially... See, okay, I was talking about Kevin. Like, talking to Kevin about this like earlier this week or last week, is that he gets into these hobbies, right? And then he drops them.
I don't drop them. Most of the time I don't drop them, all right?
Yeah. But you get excited about something like, okay, like Ring Fit Adventure. You're like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this thing. And I'm like, okay, do it. Your motorcycle. You were super into motorcycles.
I'm still into motorcycles, all right?
All right, okay. I'm just saying. The credit card thing.
Still into it. I'm just saying, like, it's not like I drop them. I just talk about them less because I have the plan, right?
Okay.
It just needs to be executed.
Okay.
It's especially the credit card thing. So, I don't want to talk about it here too much, but credit cards is something that you have to start early and you have to work long term with it. You can't just do it all at once. So it's hard to keep up the excitement for credit cards. You do your plan and you have to execute it in a total of 5 years.
Yeah, like, okay, initially with the credit card thing, I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then like every day, Kevin would come up to me and be like, so here's what I'm thinking for the credit card thing. And I'm like, okay, well, can we just relax? Like, hello? Nice to see you. Like, every time I talked to you, it was about credit cards, and then before that, it was about motorcycles, and then after that, it was about Nerf guns, and then it's just what kind of Nerf gun should I get? What kind of 3D printer should I get? I'm like,
it didn't take me that long to find a 3D printer. All right.
No, that's true, but
it took me like a day.
Anyway, I don't know. I shouldn't be complaining, I guess. It's a pretty cool thing. It just was really loud at the beginning.
Yeah. So the printer I got a Ender 3 Pro, right? Which, if anyone's interested in getting into 3D printers, I would suggest an Ender 3. Either the Ender 3 or Ender 3 Pro, depending on how much modding you want to do on it. But I would suggest it, and there are a couple upgrades I suggest off the bat, right? But initially, it's pretty loud. It's the 3D printer is pretty loud, and it gets annoying after a while. I finally did a bunch of mods on it that makes it a lot more quiet.
I was at my I was not like at a maybe like a breaking point, right? With this 3D printer. It's like I can sleep through pretty much anything, but there was like one point in the 3D printing process, right? Where I thought I was just gonna lose it. Cause like it was one morning when I hadn't gotten very much sleep. And then this 3D printer was still printing. It was doing like an 18-hour print. And then Rob, the Roomba, was doing his round at 9 in the morning. And so it had those two things going on at the same time. I was just gonna, I was so annoyed. And then you got up, and then I'm like, oh, I can't sleep. I just wanted to sleep just a little bit longer. But it's so loud. I don't know.
Yeah, like now the 3D printer is much quieter, right?
It is much quieter, yes.
Yeah. So I was planning once I'm all done with upgrading my 3D printer, I was gonna do a write up on it on Reddit. Because there's lots of like, I don't want to say mistakes because I didn't really do anything wrong, but there's lots of stuff that I feel like are more important to upgrade than others. And I found that as I've gotten into some of these new hobbies, the Nerf thing, the 3D printer, motorcycles, credit cards.
I'm glad that you're into different things so that you have these hobbies.
But like now that I'm into all these, I found that there's a community for all of this, right?
Yeah.
Reddit is your friend when you don't have to deal with drama. So there are times where I feel like, oh, I should give back. And my 3D printing experience is probably my first time where like I feel like I could actually give back to the community. Because like I said, there are upgrades for that printer I feel like should completely prioritize over other things. But there is only like a couple write-ups about it, and I feel like maybe I could contribute back. But yeah, so that's what's up with us. Lots of modding and lots of
hobbies now that
we have more time.
Yeah, now that there's less to do.
Well, it's not necessarily that we have less to do, it's just that we don't go out as often. So all that traveling and going out time is gone.
Yeah, we were supposed to go on a family trip. And
Over to Vietnam.
Yeah, but that was canceled, of course. I was supposed to go to a family reunion, which was canceled. And we're supposed to go to a couple couldn't. Well,
the conventions have been canceled, but I'm pretty sure Fanime is going to get canceled.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Even if it doesn't get canceled, I'm not even sure I want to go.
Yeah.
And then there's Evo, which hopefully doesn't get canceled. And even if it doesn't get canceled, maybe Vegas will be open.
Yeah.
So we'll see about Evo. That's over in August.
It's kind of looking all right with people starting to let quarantine. I don't know. It looks. You could argue either way.
Okay, here's the thing. Even though I say I'm optimistic about Evo, I feel like we do need to stay quarantined for a while, right? If we really want to take this whole situation seriously, we should stay quarantined for a good while. Now, whether or not they will actually do that is a whole different thing. But yeah, that's just my thought on it.
Well, I think that's enough modding talk and hobby talk. I'm sure I can already see people's eyes glazing over. So I think it's time to talk about something else.
I mean, if you guys, okay, before I switch over though, right? If you guys are curious about any of the things, YouTube and Reddit are your friends, right? If you're curious, like for Nerf, I suggest watching Lord Draconoid and Coop. For motorcycles, Reddit is your friend. r/motorcycle is a great community. For credit cards, I suggest Ask Sebi and Credit Shifu because they're pretty much the best like entry points for that. And for 3D printing, the Reddit is great. If you want to get started, the Ender 3 community is very strong, and you could troubleshoot pretty much anything. The thing with 3D printing is around in the lower 500 to like 200 price point, you're not paying for print quality, you're paying for customer support. And the Ender 3 is a cheap printer. It's not like super cheap, like under 100 or like under 100 or under 150, but it's about like under 200 to like 250 depending on whether you got the regular pro version. But they have little to no customer support, so you rely on the community. Luckily, there's a great community behind it, so it kind of works out. So if you're interested in any of those are the stuff I suggest. Okay, and what were you, Sarah?
Terms of modding Game Boys, Game Boy and Nintendo products, the retro future is a good place to start. It's really digestible, and he makes it feel like anybody can do it. Like, he gets his girlfriend to come on and like mod and change the shell, and it's super easy to change a Game Boy shell. Anyone can do it, literally anybody. So and Esoteric Sean is also a good one if you want to kind of have like a more laid back experience, and kind of like learn something different about Nintendo products, like specifically Game Boy modding. I really like his content, and I think it's really well informed. He goes into detail a little bit more than the Retro Futures channel does. So I can't remember his name right now. It's just really bothering me.
Oh, it's like same. Like I said, Coop, right? If you look up Nerf Coop, you find what channel it is.
Yeah.
But it's actually like Coop with a couple numbers I don't remember.
I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. I can't remember his name. But like, yeah, they're good places to start on YouTube. And then, of course, if the community itself, sometimes I just look up stuff on Reddit. And if you need parts, retro modding, they're Canadian based, but they ship worldwide. Maybe not now, but I think by the time this video goes up, they'll be shipping again.
Maybe.
Hopefully. And they have like a wide variety of products, not just and we're not sponsored by retro modding or funny playing, but like yeah, if you want to buy IPS screens over there, AGS models, whatever, those are the different screens, whatever, you can all buy them there. Different shells, different buttons, and they're all pretty cool. I haven't ordered anything yet, to be fair, because when I was trying to order stuff, it was during quarantine, and they were like, we're not shipping orders yet. And they weren't shipping to US customers for a while because I don't know why. But anyway,
yeah, there you go.
That's all I gotta say about that.
So into the actual topic I want to talk about today, right? So full disclosure, or not full disclosure. Here, okay, I'm gonna have a hard and fast rule about this. I want to avoid naming specific YouTubers unless we're talking about them in a positive light, right? Because I don't want to call out anyone because that's not my place to call out people, right? And trust me, this isn't like a kind of like a hate thing, or I'm hating on certain people's content. That's not what exactly I want to talk about today. Well, because today I want to talk about kind of like not necessarily discourse and arguments on YouTube, but kind of like how the format on how certain things are made, right? So, if what we're saying sounds like a YouTuber you're thinking of, it probably isn't that YouTuber. Just think of it as this nebulous thought, this nebulous example YouTuber, right? And again, we're gonna avoid naming certain YouTubers unless we're talking about them in positive light. So the thing I kind of want to talk about is how I've been getting increasingly frustrated when I start when I'm on YouTube, right? I watch lots of videos relating on certain communities. Generally that would be like the anime community, right? Or that would be on maybe just news in general. The movie community, right? And I don't want to sound like one of those people who are like, oh, misinformation and everything like that, and that's the biggest problem. It's a problem, right? It's an issue for every community, but I'm not the kind of person. I'm not gonna be that person who's gonna be out there just screaming to the heavens and be like, everyone should start speaking the truth. I understand how misinformation starts and how it's not everyone's fault, right? What I want to talk about specifically is how I'm getting irritated watching certain videos, and then when they try to present the content as fact, but what they're saying isn't exactly, I don't want to say fact because that's not a thing you can hardly say, but more of like it's quite obvious it's just their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I've told Sarah to watch a couple of videos. So the two videos I told her to watch was a QuenCurio video about the animation community and their critics, and the other video about by Cartoon Cypher about why Ishishoku reviewers or interspecies reviewers got taken down by Funimation, right? So the reason why I wanted her to watch those videos is so for the QuenCurio video in particular, I found that video a good example of pointing out how certain content out there where it's what they're saying is trying to present themselves like they are right, but then at the end they're going like, oh, but it's just my opinion, even though their content is kind of like showing as if what they're saying is fact.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The Ikishoku review is out. I feel like that's a good example of how an initial interpretation or initial like the initial response to something most of the time isn't often right, and there's lots of nuance and subtext to why things are happening, right? So if you want to get into, is there a particular thing you want to get into with those two videos before I talk about other things? So like, okay, again, I don't want to call out any specific people. Let's start with something that I feel like relates to the more misinformation side, and I feel like has a more healthier distance to me, to what, not to me, to our current time right now, which is the animation community and their critics, right? So like the QuenCurio videos about the animation community and the critics and her criticizing their criticism, right? Where I think and I'll have links to this in the description, right? Where I think what annoyed me about that whole situation was that there was very little benefit to the doubt with the, I don't want to say benefit of the doubt. The critics didn't often think about who they're actually talking about. Like they didn't quite see the other people as, I don't want to say they didn't see them as people, but they kind of saw them as a brand, or they saw them in more of a more negative light.
They're just jealous because they're popular. They're popular and they don't like their content.
I mean, that's true, right? When she talked about the people, it was like a lot of the people were annoyed that they were just popular, right? Like, I personally am a fan of Odd One Out and JD Animations, right?
I'm not.
Because they're like just the storytime videos, and they're all like they're anime storytime videos, and that might not mesh with everyone, right? Well, it's just not the content that you exactly want to see on YouTube. Is that the reason why you shouldn't like them? No, but my issue isn't the fact that they just didn't like them or they're just jealous. My issue was the fact that they tried to put a veil over their criticism in terms of just like, oh, I'm not criticizing them because I didn't like them. I just think their content is bad. But their video didn't exactly present it that way. Where if you... There is an issue, I think, on YouTube and I think the internet in general, where it's hard for people to see subtext. It's hard for people to realize that the video isn't just a video. It's also there's a person behind the video actually making it.
Yeah.
And you, more often than not, you can understand where a person's coming from on both sides when you realize that there's a human being, right? Whether it's a hate video or whether it's a review, whether it's a commentary channel, when you realize that there's a person behind there and they have their own opinions and they may or may have not done the research on the certain subject they were talking about, you can understand what exactly they're talking about better. For the QnA video, I feel like this is a good subject to go on because, like I said, we have a very healthy distance. Like this happened like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, right? There's a very healthy distance towards the situation. But I feel like it's still relevant now when it comes to a lot of certain people's criticism towards other, whether it be YouTubers or other content creators, right? I don't want this video just to be all about how we don't like, hate videos or just commentary channels. I quite like commentary channels, actually. It's more of, I have an issue with them not seeing the other person as human beings. Or them not getting the actual subtext, or them not understanding that things kind of need more nuance than just, you did something bad, thus we shall throw you to the flames. I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. After watching the video, the one with the YouTubers and stuff, kind of made me feel bad. Because I was like, it made me feel bad for watching those types of, like, commentary channels, right? Because, like, because it's not like I dislike those kinds of channels, right? Like you were saying. Is that, and I kind of enjoy it. And it's like, right? It's kind of nice to see other people hating on other people, if that sounds kind of bad.
You like the gossipy part of it.
Yeah, I like the drama, right? And I think that's what most people like about, those kind of videos.
Yeah.
They're just clickbait, so you can get drama and likes and you can stir up shit. Right?
Yeah. My issue is like that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when it comes to personalities that kind of live off that drama. Right? That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's more of when that's targeted toward people who are really not deserving of that. Right? Like you may not like Oz One Out or J Animations, right?
Yeah.
But you can't say that they deserved.
They don't really do anything.
Yeah, they didn't. They never did anything.
Yeah, I mean, I might not really enjoy their content, and it's made for that kind of like demographic, right? Where it's just like, okay, well, it's you obviously have like a high school young person demographic, right? Maybe going into college, right? So because that's kind of relatable. I'm hip and sort of relatable, and I get it, right?
Yeah.
That content is just not for me. So I'm just like, I don't understand the hate of these people because they're just living off the YouTube algorithm, So it's just like, the algorithm that works against a lot of people, right? You're the one who made a mistake, okay? Making a commentary channel, okay? I don't understand this, right? Why am I not getting the views, right? Because your video is like, you're making these controversial videos and expecting, so you're trying to work, I don't know how to explain it, but like, people like that really like...
You're trying to feed off what's the popular controversy today.
Yeah, they're like the bottom feeders, right?
Damn, Sarah.
No, not saying that the people that are like, that are taking advantage of that system are bad people. I'm just saying that the content that they create is basically that. They get the little tidbits right? All the tidbits from, they try to like look at all the drama. They're like those little catfish.
Yep.
Right?
And they basically feed off what everyone else has already fed off.
Yeah, and they're like, whoa, I'm so woke, guys. Like, you guys are in the past. I saw what Jaden Animation was doing like forever ago, and you guys don't even know the real tea. Right? And that's like, okay, sorry, I gotta say something. That's like the that's like the YouTube beauty community, because I am also inundated in YouTube beauty community and YouTube like celebrity drama.
That's
right?
a little bit more recent, the whole beauty community drama thing, right?
I love it. I can't get enough. I don't even know who some of these people are, and I'm just like, God.
See, you're the opposite of me when it comes to that. Like, you love all this drama, while I'm here like, is it necessary? I kind of just want the content.
You know, because like, okay, so
while for you that drama is the content.
I don't because I don't care about celebrity drama, right? Celebrity drama, I don't care, right? But I think because they're YouTubers and they feel like
friends.
Yeah,
that parasocial relationship.
Yeah, right? So you feel like, oh, we're kind of close to these people. Like, these people were normal people at one point.
It's a difference between gossiping over celebrities and more over gossiping over friends.
Yeah.
It's like the whole high school like drama.
Well,
gossip.
that's just like what it is.
Yeah.
All of this content that people make, it's all like high school drama.
Yeah.
It's like only, like, people can only be one thing. It's High School Musical, but in YouTube form, right?
Yeah, actually.
Stick to the status quo.
Actually.
You can only be a nerd. You can only be a jock, right?
Sort of. Actually. I mean, it's more like with everything. It's a little bit more nuanced than that, because it's like High School Musical, but if Sharpay was an actual straight up villain who had consequences over her actions.
I could compare it to, yeah, I could compare Sharpay to somebody, but I won't.
Yeah, no.
But
like I said, I only want to talk about people in a good light here.
But yeah, I think it's like High School Musical. It's just like high school.
Yeah.
People are gross, right?
And like I said, like, I don't have an issue with that inherently. I feel like I said, there are channels who kind of feed off that drama, right? And I feel like those kind of personalities are kind of fine with it. That's fine. But I have more of an issue when they have content that's not related to whatever drama they're talking about. Like, here's a channel I like that I feel like gets a lot of unnecessary drama. I would say 80% of the time. Game Theory.
Oh yeah, I thought you were gonna say Mother's Basement.
Same thing, actually. You know what? 100%. Same thing. Mother's Basement and Game Theory, I feel like gets like unnecessary drama about, let's say, 90 to 80% of the time. 10% of the time, or maybe at most 20%, I see where they're coming from, right? I understand that, like, oh, they have a bad take or something, or they missed something, or they
made a video at the wrong time.
Yeah, they made a video at the wrong time, right? But, like, I get it. However, there is more subtext to that. Like, I think, Game Theory has made bad videos before. Don't get me wrong, right? I think the worst videos are, and I feel like these are videos that they will, that Matt Pat himself will actually say they weren't good, which was the one with Knights versus Samurais versus, I forgot what the last one was. The Phoenix Wright episode, because he just ignored the lore of the game entirely. And I'm trying to think of other ones, but like I said, he's made bad videos, right? But I think what people need to realize is that his channel is kind of focused on different things. You need to realize that he has a certain purpose to some of his videos, right? For like the Phoenix Wright one, it was more an educational episode about how law works. However, that's not how law works in Phoenix Wright, which is kind of why it was a bad episode, right? So, or even one of his more recent videos with the whole who would survive a pandemic, right? And people were judging him because like, oh, you're profiting over this most about what's happening right now, and like people are dying, right? And to that, I would say, I feel like most YouTubers are kind of profiting over what's happening right now, right? But that's whatever. I can get into that, but I really don't want to.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is like, follow me during quarantine, or like what? Look,
Here's my
like
quarantine
certain
stream.
millionaire YouTubers, and it's like my house tour during quarantine. Not gonna say who they are, but
My quarantine stream. And I'm okay. Like I said, I'm not saying they're bad people, right?
yeah, we're not saying that these people are bad. It's just saying that.
No, for instance, all right, wait. Here's a person who's doing a quarantine stream that I like. Frederick Knudsen is doing a quarantine tea stream, right? We had tea time, and he's just talking to viewers, right? Technically, he is profiting over that, but I like his stuff.
I thought you were talking about JustACoupleQnA's charity stream, which he is not profiting off.
He's not profiting off that, right? Yeah. But in a way, they technically still are, because that is bringing attention to the channel.
Yeah.
Right? That might be like a side effect that they're not intending to do, but it's still happening.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing with the game theory, where like that whole video, I think it's more important to view that video as an educational video about how to, stay safe during a pandemic, rather than him profiting over it, right? And you also have to realize that he runs a company, guys. He needs to profit off what he's doing, right? It's not just MatPat behind a computer making these videos anymore. He has employees that he needs to pay, especially now, right? So, and that's what I mean by like, people are missing subtext. That like, yes, technically he's profiting over this quarantine, right? But he's also trying to educate people about how to be safe during the quarantine. And he's also trying to make money so he can pay for the employees and survive on his own, right? Everyone on YouTube, anyone who's a semi-successful YouTuber is still trying to make money. It does not matter, right? And if you try to view everyone as this money grubbing YouTuber who's only in it from the money, then you have to view like everyone who's successful that way. I'm not saying there's not people like that. Like, I know I just said that I don't want to call anyone out, but I feel like I said, it's a hard and fast rule. It's not going to apply to anyone. JStation is a money grubbing YouTuber, right? So you could say that about him because that's actively what he's doing, right? He's not making real content. He's just feeding off what's happening, right? Game theory is someone who's actively making content, right? You may not like it. You may not agree with it, but you also have to see his videos as something that like, oh, maybe these are Easter eggs. Maybe this is just piecing together lore. Maybe he's actually trying to educate you, right?
You know what I don't understand about game theory, like people who hate on game theory, is that people who don't like the theory and get upset. It's a theory. It's not real. Like, no one is telling you this is
a literal
fact.
Game theory.
The channel is called Game Theory. And then people are like, well, I don't like it when he says, like I was talking to somebody, right? I'm not gonna say who it is, but I was talking to them one time, and they're like, I don't like game theory because he always says it's a theory at the end. It's like, feels like it wasted my time. I'm like, why did you watch a channel called Game Theory if you didn't want to know any of the theories of game theory?
I think people also misunderstand what theory is in a scientific term, which is a theory is just hypothesis backed up by evidence, right?
Yeah.
It's not saying it's true. It's not saying it's false.
No one is saying it's true.
Yeah,
no one is saying it's true about game theory. And that's what really makes me mad. People come into game theory and they're like, well, I don't like that Five Nights at Freddy's theory that you had. And all of the Five Nights at Freddy's theories are so bad. It's like, nobody's asking you, one, to watch these videos. Two, nobody is saying that they're real, that they're true, you know? That's what makes me so mad. It's like people who are like, well, that's just not right at all.
Like, okay.
It's like, that's not the point.
And again, I don't want to brush everyone as a with a broad stroke and just say they're all like this. An example of how to respond to game theory well is like his Hollow Knight episode, right? He talked about another YouTuber who actively knows the lore about Hollow Knight and kind of like how his video kind of disagrees with MatPat's video.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually have a good back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're just discussing the lore of the game. They're not hating on each other at all, which is what I think people are trying to do to game theory in particular, right? It's the same thing with Mother's Basement, where just like his videos, you can see him as a money grubbing person, I guess, especially when he kind of leans into it as like the person who shills, right? But you also have to realize that literally every YouTuber takes sponsors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost every YouTuber takes sponsors, and the exceptions are kind of far and few in between, right? If you want to basically have a YouTuber who's only in it for YouTube and only YouTube, then you have to find a channel that doesn't run ads, doesn't have sponsors, and doesn't try to feed off the algorithm of current controversies, which is like almost no one.
I was watching a Cold Ones podcast recently, one of the newest ones with Raka Raka, and I don't know anything about them. Let me just say this. So if they have any past controversies, I don't know anything about it, right? Yeah. I only am going off of this podcast interview, right? So apparently they did not monetize their videos for a long time. So they make these like fight videos and they're like kind of graphic, right?
Yeah.
So they don't, oh, do you know them?
No.
So they so they're super kind of graphic and they're kind of well choreographed, right? But they refused to monetize their videos because they thought, oh, that's kind of greedy, isn't it? Right? So it's like, I don't want to like do that, right? But even they were like, even our audience was saying, why don't you just monetize them?
Yeah.
Or take a sponsor, right?
That's so weird to hear.
Yeah, like because and they were saying that every time, like, they don't actually make that much money off of their work because most of it, if not all of it, goes back into the video. So they're actually in the negative, right? So they don't actually make anything. And I was just kind of surprised. I was like,
I guess there's a channel out there. Like I said, they're far and few between, but there are examples.
They get super hurt. Like, they were showing their, like, I guess one of them had to go to the hospital, was just in the hospital, and they're like, oh, you have to get 12 stitches. Or half it, like 24 stitches, right? And he's like, no thanks. And he was like talking about like a video where they were filming, and he had to go to the hospital because he got like they had explosives, and they exploded, right? And like a branch was stuck in his face, so he had to go to the hospital, get stitches and stuff, right? And then he was like, oh, I gotta leave because we only have these explosives for one day. Right?
Yeah.
And the hospital's like, no, you can't. We got to run more tests and stuff, make sure you're all right and you don't get an infection. He's like, no. And he ran out of the hospital.
So yeah,
I was like, he's like, later I came back and explained the situation, but he's like, I only had explosives for one day, so yeah, we had to do it.
Like, okay.
That not related, really. But
I mean, somewhat related, because that is an example of a YouTuber content creator who's only in it for, I guess, the content, right?
Well, from what I know from that podcast, I don't know. I did not do any more research on them.
Yeah.
So if it turns out...
Is this something that you just passed by? Yeah.
Yeah. So if it turns out that there is something else happening there, then feel free to inform with... with references, okay? Think of it as a college essay, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna...
Citations, please.
Yeah, you're not gonna come at me with, like, half-baked evidence, okay? It's just not gonna fly.
Yeah, so, like, that's kind of what this whole episode is going to be about. Because people have to realize that if you're a full-time YouTuber, you have to make a living somehow, right? And I think a majority of content creators nowadays are full-time YouTubers. I don't want to say majority. I think the most popular majority are full-time YouTubers, right? That's that's how they have to make the money, through monetization and through ads and through sponsorships. They, in order to keep doing what they love to do, that's what they have to do. And like the other thing that people don't like Mother Base about is like his opinions, right? But I don't think he's what I talk about when people try to present their videos as fact or not, right? I've never seen a Mother's Basement video and thought like that's fact. Right?
Yeah, like when he was talking about like Re:Zero being like one of the greatest anime, and I'm like, I watched the video, but I'm like, I'm going a little too hard. Okay, it's good, but it ain't that good.
Yeah, like I love his content, right? I don't agree with everything he says, right? But I love his content, and like, but I've never seen some of his videos as like, this is the fact, this is how it is, right? They're all analyses, right? They're either analysis or putting a spotlight on a certain thing. So his videos are formatted that way. If you guys watch a lot of film YouTubers, it's a similar situation where like most reviewers of film and most people who analyze film never entirely say that their opinion is fact. That is almost never the case, right?
Well, because it's a form of art and it's all subjective. It's just what you take out of it.
Yeah, like, here's the thing though. I feel like the anime community as a whole hasn't understood that yet. It's hard to say this and not sound like I'm calling people out, right? But
some people.
Okay, no, I don't. I don't want to do that.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, every community has their bad apples, right? It does not matter what community you're in, but I feel like as a whole, the anime community hasn't totally grown up, right? Giga made a video recently how like, oh, this is the year where anime, or this is the decade where anime grew up, right? And I would agree in the Western side of how they publish anime, and that's about it. But I do not agree in terms of the anime community itself. I feel like the anime community itself had some severe growing up to do when it comes to piracy as a whole, when it comes to respecting its creators, when it comes to analysis towards anime itself, and what's a good and bad faith criticism. I don't think the anime community as a whole has that down, right? I think in general the film community does, but also in general the film community doesn't, because just go into the superhero film community and you see a lot of that same situation. Maybe not with the piracy, but with bad faith arguments, and like how they are super protective towards their own opinions or towards another person's that they look up to opinions, right? I have issues with people trying to, how can I say, attach themselves towards a certain opinion and they're inflexible to change. H3, they had a video recently talking about how the whole iDub situation, right? And I'm not going to get into that. That's far too close right now for me to actually get into. But where they talk about how they don't like hero worship in the current community of YouTube, right? And how people saw iDubbbz as like this hero and they're like, you betrayed us, right? In a similar vein, I don't like it when people take certain content creators and hold their opinion as their own, right? And I'm not saying like I wasn't like this at one point. Like I was, but that's just a part of people growing up and making their own opinions, right? And that's, even though I get frustrated over this, and even though there's a lot of things I just talked about that I get really annoyed by, that doesn't mean I don't understand where they're coming from. I understand where they're coming from because I've been there, and I've I'm not like mad at you in particular. I'm mad at the situation. I just want people to understand that the content creators are people. There's lots of nuances in almost every situation, and you need to do your own research, which goes towards the cartoon cipher video and that whole situation. Oh. All right, before I go into that, anything you want to mention with the whole thing I just said, Sarah?
I think people have the problem that they've always had, right? Is that they see somebody, this like well, they're called influencers for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But they see this like influential figure, right? That really meant something to them that they probably grew up with, or they probably had a real deep attachment to, and then they're like, you know, I really vibe with that opinion, right?
Yeah.
They really get me. And then as soon as like they like differ on opinions, they feel like a sense of like betrayal, right? But that's just like how the person always was.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes people grow up and sometimes people just don't feel the same way about certain things, and that's totally normal, right? It's all part of growing up. But some people just don't have that. Some people just don't grow up.
Yeah.
And this isn't just for the anime community, it's for the gaming community. It's for all communities.
All kinds of communities.
All kind of communities where they have any sort of commentary, anything. It's just like people don't... I feel like these commentary channels, even though sometimes they do good things with calling out certain people, I feel like they're kind of destructive in a way where it brings attention to these horrible people sometimes. Not horrible people, but people who otherwise shouldn't have a platform. You know, this isn't for everybody, but I'm talking about like certain kinds of people on the platform, right? Like for Mother's Basement, I don't really think this applies, but it also like exacerbates the problem, right?
Yeah.
So by making these commentary videos, like you're making a mountain out of a molehill, right? Or when you make commentary videos about like really like horrible people, right? Who don't really need any more attention than they're getting, like the J stations of the world, right?
Yeah.
If we're going to call out one person.
One person in particular.
Yeah. Like he didn't need any more screen time, right? And yet people who make commentary channels or people who wanted to say something about it because it was hot at the time, they were profiting off of stuff like that. And I don't think that, although sometimes, like I said, that sometimes commentary channels are good things and then they call people out, sometimes, yes, they exacerbate the problem, make things worse sometimes, give attention to people who don't deserve it.
Like JustACoupleQnA is a good example of that on both sides, right?
Yeah.
Or like if it wasn't for commentary channels, then no one would have known because he had this fervent fan base that liked his stuff. But they also took it like a step too far because it started making way too much attention.
Well, here's the problem though, because there's no control, right?
Yeah, there's no dial.
Sense of self-preservation with people, right? It's like, I'm gonna report on this, and that's it.
And then more people report, and then more people report, and more people report.
And then it's flooded because people say, oh, I can make money off of hating on J Station, right? Or hating on Mother's Basement, or hating on Jade Animations, right? I can make money off of hating people, and maybe that's good content. Yeah. Right? Put up a salacious like thumbnail and like title for your video, right? And then people will click on it.
It's just that there's no real dial or real way to control it because these are all different people. And
and it's not just commentary channels that are the problem, right? Because by themselves they're not a problem, but I think the people that watch them, people like me, because I know that I am guilty of watching those kind of channels. It's like, and I will totally own up to that. But so it's a little hypocritical of me to say this, but I recognize the problem is that people like me who love that kind of drama, right? Love the drama, love the tea, is that it's not healthy, right? It's not healthy to be so obsessed with this person and this life that does not, the whole situation that doesn't concern you.
Yeah, it does not involve you at all.
Yeah. But the fact is that you're so curious. You're like, it's like a story and you want to know how it ends, right? And when it ends, you don't care anymore.
Yeah. Like I said, inherently, they're not a bad thing. But it's more of an issue where it starts spreading to be an issue.
Yeah.
It starts becoming this huge thing. Going into my thing that I want to add on, Cartoon Cypher had a video about the whole interspecies reviewer thing. If you don't know about the whole interspecies reviewer things, Funimation licenses an anime called Interspecies Reviewers, or in the Japanese title, Ikishoku Reviewers. And the entire idea is a bunch of people who go out and go to prostitutes in this fantasy world.
And they go to brothels.
Brothels, right? They're called sucky girls in that world, right? And what they do is basically they have sex with these people, and then they write reviews after it, right?
It's a pretty like mediocre show.
Yeah, it's all right.
Like there's like nothing. I mean, I like it, but I mean, you like it for.
You know why you like it.
Yeah, you know why you like it. Don't say that. Oh man, I love the overarching story because there is none. You know, I love the animation. I mean, it's not that great.
Yeah. So, but the main drama was that, after episode 3, Funimation was like, okay, this anime is pushing it a little bit too far, and they decided to take it down off their site, right? And then it became this huge issue where everyone was like, oh, why'd you take away Ikishoku Reviewers, right?
You cowards.
You cowards. Put it back up. I suggest everyone to go and, if you're more curious about the situation, go watch the Cartoon Cypher video, because it shines more light towards what exactly happened and why it came out that way.
If you really are interested, I don't want to have to summarize the whole video.
No.
Because, you know,
yeah,
it's like a class, okay?
Yeah.
Just watch the video.
Just watch the video. Like,
watch the video, come back.
Yeah.
And then you'll be up to date. Okay?
Yeah. It's no one near the graphic. But my issue is, right, is if you go into the situation knowing nothing about how anime production is, knowing nothing about how any of this happened, you would think that Funimation took it down because they are this prudish company or whatever. Except if you know Funimation and their content and what they actually publish, that's not the case. It's just that the show went a little bit too far graphically, and they did not know if they were going to keep pushing that boundary.
You know, but I feel like people's reactions to them taking it down were kind of justified in a way. Okay. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Their initial gut reaction was like, okay, you know, I get it though. Because my reaction was the same, right? Not knowing anything. I'm just like, hey.
Where's my porn?
Funimation, what are you telling me that you're scared? You scared of a little titty? Okay. You know? And then you watch later episodes and then you're like, uh-oh. It's too graphic. It's a little too
much.
A little too much.
Right.
I think the egg laying episode really was like, oh no. It's weird now. Yeah. It's weird. So it's like my original gut reaction I thought was kind of justified. I was like, why would they, like, I felt justified. I should say that. Like, I was like, why would they take it down? Like, I don't get it. And then I'm like, and then the more that I watched it, the more I was like, okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I get why this was not.
This was not kosher.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. If it's like Funimation, synonymous with Dragon Ball Z. Like, kind of two like if you have an anime about brothels and then you and prostitution and then Dragon Ball Z, it's like not saying that that was the reason that they took it down for the company image.
If you actually watch the video, you can more understand of why exactly they took it down.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's another one of those situations where like we will never entirely know why.
Yeah.
Right? Because there could be a multitude of reasons, right? Mm-hmm. My personal theory is that they just did not know how far the studio was going to push it. Mm-hmm. And so they could not take that risk. Because episode 3 was really pushing it just off the bat. But my issue, right, is that if you don't know why Funimation took it down, it doesn't take more than a couple Google searches away to get more information and more context. Mm-hmm. And like I said, you'll never know why exactly. No one will ever know exactly why. But,
I mean, I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess if you Google search it, then you'd find something. But then you'd also be inundated with also fake.
All the misinformation, which is my issue. Because people are so counterintuitive with this. Because when it came to the situation, there were so many people going like, why? And it just kept flooding the situation. And so whenever you look up interspecies reviewers and why it was taken off Funimation, it was just a bunch of people going, why? And there was no answers.
Yeah.
To find that Cartoon Cypher video. It took me way more time than it took to find that video and to find other people in the industry and the context I needed to understand more about why Funimation had to take down interspecies reviewers off the streaming platform. It doesn't mean I'm not going to publish it. Who knows what's going to happen in that licensing situation? None of us are part of Funimation unless someone from Funimation is listening to this podcast, which, hi, I guess.
Hey, we have Funimation now, okay? We support, all right? Mm-hmm. So you want to hit us up with a sponsor.
So it's one of those things where I sit there and... That was one of my breaking points when it came to this whole misinformation thing, because the people wanting answers was so, it's not like they didn't want the answers, but it was so counterproductive to trying to get it, because it kept flooding the actual search results to not the right answer. You know what I mean? It was a bunch of people going like, I don't know why they took it down. And that's it. Mm-hmm. Right? Why they take it down? Or like they actively say something wrong. Like Funimation is a prudish company who censors everything. Even though if you actually watch what they license and put out, that is 100% not the case. Yeah. Right? You could make like weird, stupid arguments about dubs, but that doesn't change the actual content of what the subs are. So regardless. I'm going way too far about this rabbit hole. You could tell that it really irritated me whenever on this situation in particular, because it really did took me way too much time to actively trying to find this context, right? When it came down to it, I think misinformation on the internet is something we're not gonna be able to avoid, right? The best I can do to play my part in trying to tell people is try to do your own research, right? If the thought in your head is why or how or what, right? Your first instinct should be look it up.
Okay, for example, all right, not really related, but there was like this video about like a fake Pokemon anime sequel thing where Ash is grown up and he married Serena.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, huh.
And it turned out it was an artist trying to put in like it was entering a contest or something like that.
Yeah. And that was like a part of the video, but the first part was like, it was like a gotcha moment, right?
Yeah.
where you're like, if you didn't watch the whole video and you just watched that part, you would.
Or you just saw the thumbnail.
Yeah, you'd be like, wait, really? And then, like I was like, wait, really? And then I was talking about it with Kevin. I'm like, hey, that sounds really fake, though. Right? You just gotta think about it for a second. Like, sit down and think about it and think, is this right?
Yeah.
Like,
if your gut reaction is anything but skepticism or let me do the research, then back up a little bit. Is what I'm trying to say. Don't be too much of a skeptic, right? I know I keep saying this. I don't want to call out anyone, but the skeptic community is also something that really annoys me, right?
they're crazy. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. A lot of skeptic people in the skeptic community are just straight up like, I don't know what planet they're on. Right?
Because there's one thing to be a skeptic. There's another thing to actively deny evidence. Right? It's one of the other guys, all right?
Maybe I shouldn't say that. It's a little
Much.
a little much, yeah.
It's fine.
I don't know. I just have strong...
It's obvious that we have some strong feelings about certain things.
Yeah.
But it's... Again, I don't want... I know it's a whole bag of worms I'm trying to open up here on this podcast. I really don't want it to be. Where I don't want it to be a drama or even a commentary thing.
Yeah.
What I wanted to talk about in particular is the format of how videos are made in YouTube, where when you make a video and try to present it as fact, that's fine depending on whether or not what you're speaking has evidence behind it, right? When I want to talk about certain YouTubers, I want to put them in a positive light. An example of that is a lot of people in the BreadTube community, I guess, or LeftTube, whatever. Lindsay Ellis is someone I really like her videos on because all her videos have evidence backing up what she's saying. Or you can understand what she's saying and follow the through line, right? At no point in most of her videos is, here's my opinion and have no other thing about it, right? There's nothing backing up my opinion, but here's my opinion and you guys should take it, right? You see the through line, you see the citations, you understand where they're coming from. My issue is that when someone is like, here's my opinion, and they present it like a video essay, even though it's literally, they have no other evidence on it, right? Or like they have a commentary channel and they're like, here's my opinion and that it's fact, right? Instead of here's my opinion and it's just an opinion.
It's like most drama channels, like where it's like, it's a he said, she said kind of thing, right? Where people just say, like, they pull up texts and then they're like, this is truth. And I'm like, they could all be fabricated. What's the difference?
Yeah, here's the thing. You need to take things with a grain of salt most of the time, right? Here's my thing about text on the internet, right? Yes, they can be fabricated, but you also need to take evidence in consideration, right? I don't want this to go for too long, so I only want to talk about this a little bit more. I feel like we've talked about this a lot. I think you guys know more of what we're trying to say, and you have any questions, you guys can put in a comment. But when it comes to finding evidence on the internet and thinking, is this real or not, right? You have to at least think, you have to at least consider it until it's proven not real, right? You can't just throw it out, is what I'm trying to say. It could be fabricated. It could be edited. It could be just completely fake. What I'm trying to say is, if there's more evidence backing up it, context that's backing up if this is real, then you should be like, things are connecting, right? If there's evidence saying it's not real, then you should consider not considering it. Okay. I think one of the best things that college has taught me is research papers, right? That's a skill that I'm still actively using now, because in my major, it was a requirement to learn how to read engineering and research papers and how to analyze papers, analyze the studies, and all that. I think that's a skill that I still currently use because I enjoy and sometimes have to know all the information before I have like a solid opinion on something, right? And I'm not perfect. Sometimes I have a gut reaction, I just go with it, right?
That's me.
Yeah. None of us are perfect. Sometimes that happens, right? But it's a skill that everyone I feel like should learn, right?
Yeah. It's only, it's funny because it's only when somebody says, "Is that real?" that I'm like,
And you start thinking about it, right?
maybe it's not real. And then you do research, right? Mm-hmm. That's usually how it works for me. I'll show something to Kevin. I'm like, "Whoa, look at this." And he's like, "Is that real?" And I'm like, "I don't know." It might not be.
Yeah, like, take the time to do research. Yeah. And sometimes, like, I'm not going to say, like, research is fun. Sometimes it is, right? I like doing research, but that is a very personal thing, right?
Yeah. That's not most people.
That's not most people. I know. But, like, I like doing research because I like learning about certain statistics and things, right? I like to actually follow situations like that. And that doesn't this skill doesn't 100% apply to just hard numbers, right? This skill also teaches you how to throw out research, right? It's becoming more and more common that people are realizing that this research paper wasn't conducted well, and so it should be thrown out. Stuff like misinformation is what caused things like the anti-vax movement or the flat earth movement or like a bunch of conspiracy theories that I don't want to talk about here, right?
Yeah.
Like,
in short, cite your sources and
actually read them.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be a true site, right? Don't give, you don't have to give like the full thing. If you have if you have a link to an article or you have a link to a paper, just link it. Yeah. But it's like if you're trying to make an argument and you have like you're citing the Onion or something, it's not like a true source in any sense of the word.
Read the things you want to read. Oh, the Onion just reminded me of something. Okay, this is going to go on for like another 20 to 30 minutes, but what? I have to say this, all right? I just have to. Satire is an awful excuse. I hate that excuse for people. Okay, I'm not going to push it for too long, all right?
It's like another 30 minutes. We're going to talk about satire for another 30
I hate it
minutes.
When content creators going like, it's just satire, guys. Or it's just like, I'm doing a bit, right? I hate that. I absolutely hate it because that's not what satire is.
It's like The Princess Bride.
Yeah, that's not what it is. You do not know what that word means. Because remember when I said that the anime community needs to grow up? The film community has an awful issue with satire and not understanding what it means sometimes. I'm not saying like the high profile one. The high profile one obviously know what it means. That's part of the thing, right? To know what satire is. What I'm trying to say is if part of your satire is having a majority of people agree with the content of the satire rather than the subtext of it, you failed as a satire. You have failed. The whole point of satire is so the content has to be so over exaggerated that the subtext is that this is awful or this needs to be called out. That's the whole point of satire, right? If you went into Blazing Saddles and went in and thought of that racism was cool or cowboys are great, you failed. You failed.
You should go into Blazing Saddles thinking like, or come out of Blazing Saddles being like, man, wasn't that movie a little bit racist?
Wasn't Western movies kind of,
Yeah, wasn't that kind of bad?
Yeah. You failed.
Yeah. That's so funny to me. Because I remember I was watching half of Blazing Saddles and I just couldn't get through it because it was just too, like, uncomfortable for me. Even though it's a funny movie.
It's a hilarious movie, but you have to understand where that movie's coming from.
I was like, man, is this movie, like, racist or something? And I'm like, oh, wait, maybe that's the point. They're a little bit racist.
Okay, like The Producers is a satire. Is a satire about them accidentally making a satire. Right? And that, if you guys don't quite understand satire and needs to be pounded in the head to you, watch The Producers, right? And go into it knowing that it's a satire and them accidentally making a satire. Suddenly, a lot of things of how satire should be made makes more sense to you. This is everyone's homework, all right? This is your homework. Watch the two. Wait, you don't have to watch a Curio video. That one's kind of long. At least watch Cartoon Cypher and watch their video, because that's a very underviewed video. It has less than 100,000 views compared to like everyone's issue with the entire situation, right? And watch The Producers to truly understand how satire should be made, right? And how it should be interpreted, right? If you make a satire and the content is what's being agreed with rather than the subtext, failed. I give you an F. All right, I'm done.
Anyway, that was our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope you guys enjoyed my rant. I'm so sorry. Next time we'll have a more calm and casual conversation. I just had to get a lot of this off my chest. I'm sorry.
If you have any suggestions for what we should talk about, feel free to send them in. Maybe next time we'll talk about 7, the remake. Sorry, Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Oh yeah.
Because I would like to talk about it when I finish it. I started it today, or yesterday. And I got some things to say.
We got some games to talk about next time, guys.
Yeah, and it's relevant.
We got some games, maybe some movies.
We'll be relevant for once, and maybe we can finagle that YouTube algorithm, right?
No, we'll be way too late for that. You know it. You know we'll be late.
I know. But and sometimes I feel okay. You know, I feel bad for those people who really try to, and I don't judge people for their, YouTube thumbnails and their clickbait because it's how you have to do it now in order to 100%. Survive on the platform. So.
If I wanted to actually game the YouTube system, 100% I'll be doing clickbait every time. 100%.
What would you put on this one?
On this one?
Yeah. I
would actually call out YouTubers. 100%. If I wanted to make money, I will call people out for it. Hella time.
This person
and this person
and this person.
Fuck this person in particular.
Yeah. That person in the anime community, I don't like them.
Like I know I like bread too, but that person in bread too. Anyways, thank you guys for watching.
Thanks for watching, listening, whatever you're doing.
About how angry I got for a second. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
Sorry for telling you to do homework, but that's just how it is, What else are you doing during this quarantine? Maybe working, supporting a family, trying to make ends meet.
I half feel bad for putting this up, but again, it's something I have to get out. Again, the next time we'll be a lot more chill. We'll be talking about a lot more non-consequential stuff.
And maybe next time will be more fun.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to respond to anything, please leave a comment below. If you want to send something anonymously, we have an email, JustACoupleQnA@gmail.com.
Yeah. Have a fantastic quarantine, guys, and thank you for the unsung heroes of the quarantine. Thanks for all the people that are doing their hardest during this time.
Yep.
So, and thank you for listening to this whole thing. I'm surprised if you got through it. Yeah. To be honest.
I'm surprised you got through my rant. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. All is forgiven. If somebody watches this. Yeah. Who knows?
If you guys got through this, Thank you. You are a true friend.
Dude, I'm gonna cringe when I listen to my part when I'm talking about interspecies reviewer. I know I'm gonna say like, oh, why did I say that?
Okay, that's it. Thank you guys. It's been episode 20 of Just a Couple Thoughts.
Wow, that big 20.
Oh, sorry, not 20. 21. Sorry. We already had episode 20.
I'm gonna say wow. Episode 21. Big
Yeah.
21.
All right. Bye.
We're of age now. We can drink legally.
This podcast can drink.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Remember, stay jacked, friends. Stay jacked, friends.